In the past, I've told you one of my hobbies is walking around, stopping and talking to people. And you meet all kinds of people. And then sometimes it just clicks. And yesterday was Labor Day. It's the first day of the month. And I'm in the dollar store talking to the girl at the checkout. So it was just me and her in the dollar store. And then in came a girl, and she went and got a mop handle and a mop. And she came up to the register. And I'm just hanging out at this point. I'm already checked out. And I look at the girl, and she makes eye contact. She says, "Oh, you're moving out for the beginning of the month." She says, "Yeah, my mom gave me a house." And she's a little Hispanic girl, 30 years old. I know all this because I talked to her for over an hour after the. I'm going to explain all this sort of to you. And so she's all excited. She's moving out. She's out of the apartment. She just has to go through it and mop it one last time. She said she had some pet stains by the door from the dog didn't get out on time. But anyway, so she checks. She rings. The girl rings her up, and she follows me outside, and we're standing there. And she reaches into her cell phone, and she puts it on. I guess it would be on voicemail. Bang! It's off. It's not going to interrupt us. And we stood there for an hour, and we traded information. Now she grew up in this area. She lives in the city, but she came up here all the time to the Centertown Mall, and we got discussing what stores used to be in there. There was a Kmart. It was an enclosed mall. Kmart moved in, made them change it all around. So Annie M's Pretzel was one of the first ones was in there. Petland Discount, the post office. There was a Weiss, where the dollar store is. There was a Weiss supermarket. And she tells me about the Staples. I said, I totally forgot about the Staples. When I first got here, I was in there all the time getting printer paper and ink. Well, anyway, so we got chatting, and she's the type that we were able to go back and forth. Like I said, the Howard Johnson back here, and she came up a different way. And she goes, "What?" I said, "That's going to be a Staples." I said, "Not a Staples, a Sheets." I said it what was going to be a Sheets, then they changed, and then now it's going to be a Sheets. I said, "There's like four backhoes over there, a crew of 15 every day for almost 3 months." So we're standing there where we're standing. She moves a little bit and she looks down between the buildings. She goes, "Holy cow, that's all down." I said, "Yeah." I said, when on your way out, go out that way." So anyway, we got talking about the homeless. I said to her, "Did you ever go behind this building?" "Yeah, there's a shortcut to Walmart." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Remember the forest back there or the trees?" I said, yeah. She says, "Yeah." I said, "They took it all down. They found a two-pole circus tent back there." I saw all this stuff. Anyway, uh, and then the guys took pallets and they built the house up in there. So they had to take all that down. And then the company, Walmart, just I mean, they knocked everything down. They even went on other people's property and took trees down. So anyway, she knew the area really well. That used to be over here. This used to be over there. So for an hour, the bantering went back and forth. And she told me she was 30 years old, two grown children. She's married. She's Hispanic. I told you, mom's giving her a house. She's all excited. And she's at that age. Now, she never mentioned her dad. See, I noticed what I keyed into when a girl is about 30 years old, a little older, and her dad has died, she'll talk to an older man. And, it's not, I won't say it's sexual. She's just like, I'm like a pseudo dad. It's like anything she really would love to tell her dad. She can't, she tells me. And I had a girl in the next block, and her dad had just died. And then she started stopping and talking to me every night. And of course, someone sold, they were renting, and the house got sold from under them. But someone says, "You're always talking to that girl." I said, "Look, she's married, she's got two children, but her dad died, and they could tell their husband how their day went, but they really want to touch base with like an older guy, and it fills that void that they can't call their dad up on the telephone and talk to him." Okay, that's what it is, and I know that's what it is, and that's why just going for a walk and stopping and talking to someone, you can get you can get into it at multiple levels. And some people they just will say, "Do you think it's going to rain today?" Boy, that rain last week was really bad. Now I tell you, I mentioned NPC players. Online, you can put in NPC in YouTube, and you can go. This guy goes into these games, and he walks up to the people in the background, and he starts talking to them. And you'll see if you do this, you're going to get some insight. In other words, there are people that walk around. They're at like level 1. They're walking the dog. That's all they want to do. They don't want to talk. But there are days when they're having a bad day, they want someone to talk to. And after a while, when someone shakes you off a few times, you're like, when they want to talk, just keep walking. And I do that. And I also, if someone mishears me or misunderstands me and gets mad at me, I write them off now. I don't want to stand there and say, that's not what I said. I have to go. I can find somebody else. There was a person that misunderstood me several times. And the third time, I didn't care anymore. She said, you're really hard on people. No, I'm not. I walk around and I stand there when someone's got a bad day going. I stand there and talk them down. I'm hard on people. What the? She misunderstood something I said. And I'm not going to stand there because you can only make it worse. With some women, it only gets worse. You're trying to say, I didn't say that. Yes, that's what you said. I'm out of here. I don't have to. I'm not married. I don't have to put up with this. And then there's other people. When you come up on a guy, he's outside, and he's just stepped out of the house. He's breathing some fresh air, and you start talking to him, and he has all these stories he wants to tell you. But his phone starts ringing, and it's the wife. And the wife, who's that man you're talking to? And he goes, and he gives you that look. I don't know if you ever saw the Sam Kinison look about the man pushing the stroller in the mall. Go watch some of Sam Kinison's. His early ones about the wife. They're real nice to you, and then all of a sudden they turn into the devil. But I'll come up on a guy, and he's dying to talk to somebody. And I'm talking to him, and the phone's ringing. And in some cases, some of them just shut the phone off. They want to talk to someone, and they're willing to go back into an argument when they go in the house. See, a guy has like 10 favorite stories he just loves to tell. And I've never heard them before. And I'll come up on the guy, and he's real friendly because he got out of the house for a few minutes. And he starts telling me one of the stories. And you can see that on his face, how happy he is. He's with another guy, he's telling the story. And then the wife starts emailing him or texting him, and then finally calling him on the phone. Who's that guy? I know exactly what's happening. This happens many times. Now, I told you once before, I'm in the store, H&H Hardware at Lyndhurst. What was his name? Henry Tiska owned it. And this old guy comes into the store, and he bought something, like a washer or something. And there's me and the other guy that used to say that, I forget what he used to call me. Oh, it has to do with carrying the intellectual flame of society. And he had a couple of different other things he used to call me. Well, in other words, I carry wisdom that other people have passed to me. What's going on in the neighborhood? What's changing hands? That's what I do. So we're talking to this guy. He's laughing, and he's almost crying. He says to me, I've never laughed like this in years. I'm really enjoying this stuff. All of a sudden, in comes the wife. She's gotten in her car. She drove in there. Now he turns into, you got to see the reaction to this guy. It looks so sad as he followed her outside, and she's bawling him out. When I send you to a store to get something, I expect you to, yeah, that's what, you know what? I went home. I was still shaking. I said, thank God I never got married, because I'm pretty easygoing, and power corrupts, okay? And I started hanging with different women. You get ready to date them, and they start making your decisions for you. And I'm like, you know what? I know where this is going to go. And also, a lot of women, after you get to know them, there's like nothing really there. And and here, several of them ask me out. They want someone to take care. They want someone to take care of them financially. That's what they want. And you want a woman that's good looking, but that, at my age, that's not going to happen. So anyway, but I met this girl. Like I said, I'm standing there with a 30-year-old girl, good looking, and we're going back and forth with conversations. It was really nice. And then when we get done, She says to me, "This was really nice. I enjoy doing this. This is what I like to do. But I should know. I got to watch for it. I notice in that when you're talking to someone and they seem like they're interested, just to talk, I see that finger go on that. It's not a mute button. It puts everybody to voicemail. And then as I left, uh, I noticed she didn't come by me in the car. And then I looked back, and what she did was she got in the car and she turned the phone on, and it's still like 9 o'clock in the morning. I met her at 8. We went to a little over 9 talking, and yeah, she put her phone back on. Now she's sitting in the car talking to everybody she needs to talk to before she started. Then she come by me in the car and waved, and that was it. But I never see these people ever again. I met one girl in the park. I won't say she was crying. She looked pretty despondent, and she was good looking. And I got talking to her and everything. But then when I went back, I walked her back to her car, and she had this really big, gaudy thing. And that's when I knew she was having a bad day that day. But she had a career, and she took a day off, and now she's in that mode where, oh, woe is me, or woe is me. But come the next day, when they're back at work, they go back to who they really are. But now I've had so many people lately. I really enjoyed talking to you. This was really nice. This one guy, he's an accountant. The second time I bumped into him, I just bumped into him, and he's thinking about buying a house now. I told him it's the only way to go if you can get one. It's always hard to buy a house. It's never easy. But yeah, there are people like that's because of COVID and people with the cell phones. They become selfish, self-centered, and some of them are starting to realize that the cell phones will suck your soul out. And you think you have friends. They're not your friends. They're just on the cell phone. And if you call them up and say, hey, let's go grab burgers, let's go fishing. No, they're on the cell phone. That's where they are. Their whole life revolves around the cell phone. And I stop at yard sales, and the people are at the yard sale. It's super early in the morning, but yet the cell phone's ringing off the hook. And they have these people that don't sleep right. They're on the cell phone, and it's just the way it's going. But I just want to tell you, yeah, I can get into a conversation in the checkout line, and the person will follow me outside, and it just keeps going. And I noticed I learned to let other people talk more, and as long as they're giving me my time, and then we're talking about common subjects. That's like this girl knew all the stores and all the places that were up here and how it changed and the whole, she didn't know that the highway was called the Miracle Mile. I said, yeah, that's a moneymaker. That whole section of the highway there, that's basically, everybody comes from Lancaster City. They come from Maryland. They come from Delaware. They come from New York City. They come from Jersey, and they shop on this near my house. There's Tanger Mall. There's Rockville Mall. There's Centertown Mall. I can't name them all. There's a bunch of malls in one area. And at the top of the hill, there used to be an outlet mall, Rockville. That's closing down. It's supposed to be houses, but the sewer lines are too small. So they have to dig it all up and then get it certified and then put the houses in. But we had a mall at the top of the hill, and you could come out and buy china, boxes of china if you have a restaurant. All that's died. That's all died. And, you used to come out, you got a certain pattern. You could buy an older pattern of china. That's all dead. That all died. And there were places that sold, I won't say door hinges, but basically, yeah, hardware. But antique hardware, if you're restoring a house, that's all gone. And those buildings were all down. They knocked all those buildings down. And the outlet store would be like a Blue Jeans, different companies had an outlet store, and they would sell the overages. Certain sizes they made too many, or it was an older style, and they had sneaker outlets there. It was really, it was sort of humming when I first got here. But the first Christmas I was here, several days before Christmas, 9 stores closed down because they had made the money they're going to make for Christmas, and that was it. I think that's it. All right, that's it.